Welcome in TNC Radio.live. This is Building Strong Minds with Dr. Christopher Cortman. I'm Tom Kelly. Be with you for the next hour talking about, we talk all the time about what you need to do as a driver to build up your body, how to eat better, how to, do all these different things. Tonight we're talking about how to build up your mind, how to make your mind better, how to deal with some of the things that you have to deal with while you're out there on the road. And Dr. Chris, I have a special surprise for you this evening.
I hope it's homemade brownies.
It is homemade brownies. How
did you guess?
Yeah. And I even have special stuff. No, I don't have special stuff in the brownies. But I also love homemade brownies. And I have with us two guests. We have Lisa and Candace with us. Lisa and Candace are both drivers' wives, and they've started a new organization. And we let them tell you all about it. So who wants to go up first? Lisa?
Candace.
All right, Candace will go first. Candace, tell us, first of all, about your organization. Then we're going to get to know you and Lisa a little bit.
Our organization that we started is 32 Truckers a Day. We want to bring awareness to the truck drivers' mental health. We will be handing out gift bags. We have a direct line if a driver needs to speak with someone who kind of understands, the industry and just wants to vent, and just raise awareness. There's so many groups that are now coming about of truck drivers' mental health, and I just feel like there can't be enough.
Oh, yeah. There's always room for more groups and each with a kind of slightly different take on it. And I like the take that you all have, Lisa, because your perspective is slightly different than others, isn't it?
Yes, it is. We've been out on the road. We see what our drivers have went through. We see what they go through on a daily basis. We know how hard it is. We also will provide a hot meal for a driver if they cannot afford a hot meal. We will do shower coupons for drivers if they cannot afford a shower, because I don't think some people realize it's $25 to take a shower at a truck stop.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Just to take, yeah. And we also are going to provide gift bags for like the kids. If in the summer, when you get to take your kids on the truck, we're going to have little gift bags that have a coloring book in it, or a Barbie or a Tonka toy, something to give to them to keep their children occupied in the truck.
Absolutely. That's great. That's good stuff. So Dr. Chris and I have been through, in the last few months, we've been going through the Social Black Belt, which is something that he put together a while back. It kind of had a couple of different names, but we're calling it Social Black Belt, where we have a number of resources that allow us to help us think through different things in what we call the 10 truths, of the Social Black Belt. And we're not going to go through all of those again tonight, Dr. Chris, in case you're wondering, is Tom about to go through the 10? No, I'm not. I'm just pointing out what we've been doing here recently. So this, with month being Mental Health Month, May being Mental Health Month, and also Suicide Prevention Month, we thought it would be apropos to have Lisa and Candace join us for a few episodes of this program and talk about some of the things that they deal with, both personally as being truckers' wives and what they can see in their husbands from time to time. Because let's face it, I can't talk tonight. Let's face it, Dr. Chris, husbands don't always tell the truth to their wives about where they are emotionally.
I'm thinking a lot of things, and the first thing that comes to my mind is how exciting. I've been with you now more than a year, and this is the first episode where we've actually had some ladies on the show, so I'm loving that. And secondly, what you ladies have put together with a mental health approach for truckers, I'm just blown away. I think it's fantastic. And, you may already have some kind of feedback on how much of a difference you're making or starting to make But I want to promise you, if you stay with this and keep reaching out, you will touch lives, you will affect lives, you will save lives. And that's really a beautiful thing. I don't know where this idea came from or who started it, but I want to commend you. I want to applaud you. I want to say nice going. And at the end of it, I want to say, I'd like to help you in whatever way I can to make your mission a success. And the third thing I want to say, with the $25 a shower, I'm not charging my 11-year-old son at all, and I still can't get him to.
Yeah.
So if there was a fee for a shower, I think he'd be the worst smelling human ever.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, and then he's going to turn 12 or 13. You won't be able to get him out of the shower.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, that's totally
coming. Yeah.
different program. We'll talk about that some other time. In the meantime, so how did this organization start?
We were doing a fundraiser for a friend of ours that was going through a divorce, and we were helping her raise money. And we had so many truck drivers donate. I took a pie in the face for a donation. My husband actually pied me in the face. And it's on my TikTok. Yeah, I got a full pie to the face. And we thought, we need to do something. We need to bring awareness to what these drivers go through on the road. And then we had a friend of ours confidentially tell us that she had not eaten in 3 days. Because all of the money that she made on the road, she was sending home so her family could eat. And we thought that is just absolutely unacceptable. We're not going to do this anymore. And so me and Candace sent her money to eat. And she went into the restaurant, got something to eat, and said that she actually had a good night's sleep that night because she had not slept very well. Well, she was hungry. And we thought, we need to do something. And the more we were digging into it, the more the drivers were saying they weren't getting meals, how much the showers were, shower bags. And I thought, let's do it. And me and Candace and Angie just all got together and said, let's go. And it just went upward from there.
And why the 32 truckers a day? What is that about? Where does that name come from?
Go ahead, Candace. You did all the math for this. I'm out of algebra.
32 truckers a day. It's we pulled some statistics from the CDC, the U.S. Census. We had like 5 different places that we pulled, and there was on average 32 CDL holders a day who commit suicide.
Wow.
That's a stunning number.
But the problem was we couldn't find a straight answer. We had to go to 5 or 6 different websites, pull statistics, add, multiply, how many CDL holders. There is nothing out there that like for veterans, they have the 22 a day. There was nothing out there that said, this is how many truck drivers take their own life a day because of the stress they feel on the road.
Right.
And that's sad because,
Yes.
In 2016, the trucking industry was rated the 5th in America for the leading industry for ranked 5th in America for the industry with the highest suicide rates. And since 2016 to now, it has moved up to 4th.
That's just unacceptable. That's a horrible statistic.
Yes.
That's well over what, 10,000 a year? Is that?
Yeah.
Or is that 1,000 a year? Am I doing that math
No,
right?
10,000.
10,000. And that's 10,000 way too many. With no national recognition. I mean, there's, like she said, we had to dig and dig and dig.
So that's problematic, and something that sticking our heads in the sand and pretending like that's not true doesn't make it go away.
Right.
Wow. All right. Well, we're here and we're starting and we're going to talk about these things, aren't we, Tom?
Absolutely. That's what it's all about. So we're going to take a quick break and come back and jump in. You're listening to TNCRadio.live. Stay right there.
This blog on TNCRadio.live is brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net. 4 things to consider before becoming a hazmat tanker driver. The demand for truck drivers is higher than ever. There are many different types of truck driving jobs. Whether you're a new driver or if you already have a couple of years' experience, it's never a bad idea to get new skills and endorsements. Hazmat tanker jobs are one of the many truck driving jobs. If you're considering becoming a hazmat tanker truck driver, here's some things you should know. What is a hazmat tanker? Hazmat truck drivers haul, deliver, and dispose of hazardous materials. Hazardous material can include things like gases, explosives, corrosive chemicals, poisons, and radioactive materials. Hazmat tanker drivers are not limited to hauling only hazardous material. They can also drive a non-hazardous tanker. Have the right requirements. Becoming a certified hazmat tanker driver will require you to add specific endorsements to your already existing CDL. You'll have to undergo training that is specifically designed for transporting and handling hazardous materials. After obtaining your CDL, you'll have to go through a background check and complete the application requirements. The application requires ID proof of being at least 21 years old, proof of citizenship or legal residence, a medical exam and eye exam. You must pass the hazmat knowledge test too. It's more stressful. Regardless of what you're hauling, being a truck driver is a stressful job. Safety is a top priority for truck drivers, especially for hazmat tanker drivers. Hauling hazardous material means that accidents or spills are much more severe. Hazmat tanker drivers are under much more stress and caution than drivers that haul non-hazardous material. Drivers need to be extra careful and need to plan their routes before driving. It requires a lot of skill. Truck driving is a difficult career and it's not for everyone. Being a truck driver already requires a lot of skill. For hazmat tanker drivers, there are specific skills that you'll need in order to be successful. Aside from the technical skills, hazmat tankers should also have personal skills. Some personal skills include being punctual, detail-oriented, and patient. These skills will make you a better driver in the long run. You make more money. Hazmat tanker drivers make more money on average. This is because more experience and skills required to haul hazardous loads. According to Salary.com, the average salary for a hazmat tanker driver in the United States is just over $63,000 a year, but the average salary range falls between $55,000 and $72,000 a year. Salary varies from education, certification, experiences, and additional skills. This info blog was brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net. I'm Ron Samuels. We put it in reverse gear so you can enjoy the history of popular music and hear the soundtrack of life Wednesdays at 8 Eastern and 7 Central, right after the train station on TNCRadio.live.
Welcome back into Building Strong Minds with Dr. Christopher Cortman. I'm Tom Kelly. Lisa, I'll go to you first. What do you think? Great song?
Absolutely.
Isn't that wonderful? Just, more snapping than West Side Story. I figured you were old enough to appreciate that joke. So thanks for being with us this evening. And if you're just joining us, we have some guests with us tonight. We're really excited about that. We have Lisa and Candace with us, who are bringing a perspective as wives of truckers. And they've started a group called the, I'm going to say it wrong again, the 32, say it again. 32 truckers
32
a day.
truckers a day.
32 truckers a day. Which is, you know, if you divide by 3 and carry the 1 and do the math behind it, that looks like about the right number. It's a wrong number. It's a horrible number, but the correct number of drivers who take their own lives on a daily basis across the U.S. There are 3.5 million drivers in the U.S., so that's that number makes sense. So, which is it's a terrible ratio, but it's a high stress job. Let me go to Candace first. Candace, tell Dr. Chris a little bit about the concerns you have as you watch your husband pull away to go out on a long trip.
Well, I can't relate to that now because I am a full-time rider with my husband. But however,
okay.
Before I became a full-time rider, I was at home. But a lot of concerns that I had when he did go by himself was, is someone going to pull out in front of him? Is he going to make it to his destination on time and safely? Is he eating enough? Is he taking his showers? Is he having time to do his showers? Is he going to get injured? There's just many things that go through our minds. Is he going to our family? I have 4 kids.
Wow. And I'm thinking at the time you're talking that not one of those fears or worries are unique to your situation. I mean, that would be anybody who has a partner who's a driver. Those are all the things that anyone would be concerned about because they're common to everybody who gets behind the wheel.
Absolutely. And I think, when we have our husbands at home, we know that they eat right. We know, that they have, when a woman's not in the industry, when your husband's, going to work the 9-to-5 job, you know that he's eating, that, if he's not mentally okay, you can see those signs, but when they're on the road, they stuff his feelings. And my husband has a huge issue with stuffing his feelings, and he's starting to work on that and, trying to express those, but it's hard to change that cycle.
Well, you said he's starting to change that. Can you expand on that? How is he doing that?
He used to be the type of person who, when he got angry or he got upset, he would never talk about anything. He would never talk about it. He would never come to me and say, hey, I'm not coming at you in a vicious way, but I just want to vent. He kept it all bottled inside. And there would be times where he would eventually have those bursting moments because you can only keep so much inside for so long. And now he's starting to, not everything, just because, this is new for him to start expressing, but he started to come to me and say, hey, can we talk about this? Because this is really bothering me, just the small baby steps he started to wanting to talk. And I know, he's been out here for 20 some years and he has gotten so used over those 20 years to not having the support that he has now. So he just stuffed it all in and kept it. So it's just those baby steps, and those baby steps lead to the bigger steps, but he's having a hard time with changing that vicious cycle more, if that makes sense.
You sound like somebody who is very much on top of this and very invested in him. And I would imagine you make it safer for him to talk about these things because he has a partner that's really pulling for him. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Absolutely. I want him to know that anything he can come to me and talk to me about, and I'm always going to be an ear for him.
Mm-hmm. You know, that's one of the things that we all need if we're ever going to open up. We need a safe place, which really means a safe person to talk to. And whether that's a priest behind the confessional, or whether it's a therapist, or whether it's a best friend, or whether it's a parent or parent figure, or whether it's our spouse or our life partner, we need somebody that's safe enough that we can talk about these things. Because if it's not safe, it's one of the fastest ways to close somebody back up. It's just really difficult for some people, many of them men, of course, the way we were socialized, to get to the bottom of what's really going on inside of me. So I commend you for being that safe person, being that safe place. And if I may, I'll expand a little bit. Sometimes it's not even a matter of I don't want to tell you what's going on. It's I don't even know how to. After so many years of bottling it up, I don't know where to begin. I don't know how to begin. Needless to say, this comes across my desk and my office, people who've never really done much opening up. And it's my job to, first of all, be the safest place in the world, right? But it's also my job to help them to express those things. And so, for instance, I might say to them, some people, when they go through what you're going through, they may have feelings like this. I don't know if you've ever had that, but that's not unusual. Or sometimes I'll say, here's some common reactions to what you're telling me about. Here's 4 of them off the top of my head. I don't know if you can relate to any of these. And when I give them multiple choice, sometimes they say, oh, really? Because that one sounds just like the way I feel. I would not have said it, but since you brought it up, so I'm giving them a little kickstart, if you will. I'm giving them some options, and they can choose, already knowing that this isn't crazy or weird because he's saying other people have this.
Yeah, and I noticed, with him, it's like that you said that, because I'll notice when he's starting to get a little aggravated, I'll say, I feel like you are either aggravated or upset or something has bothered you. And that's when he'll say, I am a little aggravated at this situation, or I'm a little angry that this happened. And that's kind of where he has now started expressing those. So it's nice to know that I have started, working on the right path to opening those expressions.
That's a beautiful thing, because when you can help somebody to get in touch with their feelings, their anger, and express it in words, you're already helping them to reduce that feeling just by appropriately owning it, expressing and releasing it. It's a fantastic thing. A lot fewer people would do rash things with their anger and rage if they had a safe place to say, I'm so angry right now, and a safe partner to say, all right, tell me about it. Your anger is welcomed here. Tell me what's going on. Let's see if we can identify some feelings below the anger. With males especially, but not limited to males, lots of times anger is about feelings of inadequacy, feeling insulted, feeling betrayed, feeling emasculated, feeling in some way or another not good enough. And that so often culminates in a deep rage. And so to get below that rage into some feelings that he can talk about and we can normalize, there's no need to do something crazy to go get, in today's world, go get a gun and shoot up a neighborhood. Or, I just read today of a guy who was found guilty for driving 6 teenagers off the road, and 3 of them were killed because they did one of those ring the doorbell and run games. And it's like, wow. If we could just help people understand that anger is very often about the perception of violation. That guy, for instance, felt violated that they would ring his doorbell and run, but if he had any kind of tools or any kind of skills to, appropriately deal with his feelings, and then, hey, these are teenagers. Let's talk about when you were a teen. Did you ever do anything like a prank? Did you ever do anything that today you'd say, boy, that was stupid? If we had the ability to process things like that, there wouldn't be outcomes like that. So, again, I commend you, and I would like to encourage you. And when I say you, I'm not just talking about you guys, Lisa and Candace. I'm talking about every listener out there, that we can deal well with our emotions, with our feelings, if we understand more about them and how to express them appropriately.
Yeah, and I noticed, like, before he started expressing himself, he would always say, "I'm the man. I'm not supposed to show my feelings. I'm the man. I'm supposed to be strong. I'm not supposed to let this bother me." And that really aggravated me, because I feel like, and we've talked about this, with before, Lisa and I feel like a lot of social media has put this persona on men that they're not allowed to express their feelings. And, I tell them all the time, your feelings are valid. Your feelings are yours, and you're allowed to have those.
That's good stuff. And one of the things I would like men to know, and I know that likely most of our audience is male, is that if you check in the corner of your eyeballs, you'll see that we also have tear ducts, and we have all the same human emotions that women do. We were culturally taught many generations ago that men don't show weakness and they don't express feelings appropriately. And so many of the challenging human emotions for a male, they get thrown in a blender and they come out as anger and rage. So if a man is afraid, if a man is embarrassed, if he's humiliated, if he's insulted, if he's terrified, if he's emasculated, if he's worried about, everything comes out as anger and rage because we weren't allowed to, express those other feelings that we have as much as women do. I'm thinking of a great Billy Joel. I love Billy Joel. He's just this street philosopher. But he said, I'll have my fears like every man. You'll have your tears like every woman. And it's like, yeah, but that's all true, except we're all feeling similar feelings, even though we're not allowed to express them the same way. And if there's one thing that's really gratifying in my office, it's seeing a man who's never talked about his feelings just learn to open up and finally put away things that have been haunting him for decades, because he never had permission, first of all, let alone the skills or the knowledge to go and let these things surface by talking about them and finally making peace with them. I mean, there's hope if a guy's brave enough to, and humble enough to seek help.
Absolutely.
All right.
I always tell him when he starts crying, he's like, well, I don't feel like I'm manly because I'm crying. And I'm like, you know what? There's more room out than there is in for those tears. Let them out.
Well, and from early on, the message we were told as males, don't be a crybaby.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't be a crybaby. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. TNCRadio.live.
Hi, I'm Dr. Christopher Cortman, and now for the Mental Health Minute. This is the third part on, are you a control freak? And in the first part, we talked about why control can be a very good thing and an important thing. In the second one, we talked about when control goes awry, when it's a bad thing. This time I want to talk about what control does for people and why do we try to control other people? You know, I have a patient who just returned from a year overseas. She was in Spain with her boyfriend, and she said, I don't like how I'm behaving in this relationship. You know, early on I read some text messages about his communication with other girls, and it really spooked me. So I found myself trying to control everything he was doing. In Spain, she said, they call that a controladora, a woman who controls too much. And I said to her, well, if you only had a backpack, you would be Controladora the Explorer. But I digress, because I have a daughter and we watch too many Nickelodeon cartoons together. Anyway, back to the point. A control person, a control freak, like anyone else, has a method to their madness. Their behavior is purposeful. Why do people want to control? Well, very simply put, I am too afraid to give up control because I don't know what you're going to do. So when I control your behavior, I feel like I have some more power to influence your choices. That makes sense. Except for one thing. By trying to control her boyfriend, she's only alienating him. She's teaching him that you are not to be trusted. You're not trustworthy. And she hurts his feelings and she demeans him. And she doesn't even like or respect herself. So what's the solution to that? It's always going to be let go of what's not yours to control and make a conscious and deliberate decision to choose to trust the other person. And most importantly, trust yourself. Because if the boyfriend turns out to be less than trustworthy, then it's up to me to make good decisions at that point.
Hello, friends. This is Josh Banker from Clutch Time Sports on Wednesday nights at 9 o'clock Eastern right here on TNCRadio.live. We know that life as a driver is not easy, but do you believe in the power of prayer? Whether you're moving down the highway or taking a break, you can take a moment right now to tell God about your needs, maybe something that concerns you or something you're just thankful for. You need someone to pray with you? No problem. Just call the TFC Global 24-hour prayer line at 866-515-9406. Or if you're using the TNCRadio.live app, just press the prayer line button to be connected to a prayer warrior who will confidentially pray with you and for you. Also, if you're willing to volunteer your time to help pray with and for others, then send us an email at info@tncradio.live and let us know. Thank you and have a blessed day.
Welcome back, TNCRadio.live. This is Building Strong Minds with Dr. Christopher Cortman. I'm Tom Kelly, and we're joined today by Lisa and Candace. In the last segment, we heard a lot from Candace. Lisa, as you listened in on that conversation, what would you add into it?
I would add just a few things. Candace hit it on the nail. For me, it's a little different. My husband has been driving for 38 years. He's a veteran. He drives a truck because he has PTSD and doesn't like to be around a lot of people. And I always tell him that your mind is a very dark place when you spend every waking moment sitting in a truck with nothing else to think about but what's going on with your life. When I first got with my husband, it was very hard for me to get anywhere close to his emotions because from the military, he has none. It's drilled into their head that you feel nothing. And so it was a little bit harder for me to get close to him over the years, I've gotten really close to him, but he still won't tell me what's wrong. I have to pry it out of him, and not in the way that I keep bugging him about it. I'll say, "Are you mad?" He'll say, "Nope, not mad at all." And I'll say, "Well, I know there's something bothering you." "Nope." And then I'll say, "Is there something wrong with the load? Is there something wrong with the trailer?" And then that's when I say those things, then he'll say, "Yep, the trailer had a flat tire today, this and this and this." So I almost make him tell me, but I give him like multiple choices. I know it has to be one of these things that happened today that's put you in a bad mood.
Like I said before, that's a fantastic technique. And if you just left it as an essay where I'm going to be quiet and you can open up to me, you're not going to get anywhere. But if you give him a multiple choice, there's a chance he might say, "Yep, you nailed it. That's what it is." And then we can go from there. That's beautiful. That's brilliant on your part.
And I guess we've been together for 25 years. So I kind of know the certain things that trigger him on the road. So
Sure.
I can kind of run down the list. And usually one of them's right.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that we have gotten in such a culture, my husband's 55. So he was brought up in such a culture that you're the sole provider for the family. And if something goes wrong with the truck or something goes wrong at home, that's the biggest thing that people don't realize. I can't call my husband and say, "The sink's clogged." Because he'll say, "What do you want me to do? I'm 1,000 miles away." And there is nothing he can do. There's nothing he can do about the sink being clogged. We have to learn as truckers' wives to almost put on our big girl panties and do what needs to be done. We don't want to, not that we're bothering our husbands, but we don't want to put that added stress on them on the road when they're dealing with everything they have to deal with all day long. And then they feel like they're not providing for us because they can't be here to help us with things that go wrong in our home.
That's one more thing that would make a man feel less than, that I can't be there for my family when they need me because I have to be way out here, delivering goods. And it makes me feel worse about myself. I'd almost rather not know, because then I don't feel so bad.
And it's a very fine line with what I tell him and what I don't tell him. So, if little things go wrong around the house, I'll tell him, "Listen, something's wrong with the plumbing. I called the plumber. I got it handled." But if there's bigger things, my biggest fear is to have my husband be 1,000 miles away and have something happen to one of our kids. And I have to call and tell him that. That is something that I haven't had to do, but that is probably one of the biggest fears as a trucker's wife, is having to call your husband and say, "Our daughter was in a car accident and he's 1,200 miles away."
Mm-hmm.
How is he going to react to that?
Thank you for bringing these kinds of things up, because, again, they're not unique to you and your family. And it's fodder for everyone to process. And so if I could, off the top of my head, I would respond to that by saying, when you get some time, sit down with each other and say, let's talk about some ground rules about what it's okay to call you for, or when we cross that threshold of things that you need to know because it's that important, versus things that'll wait till you get home. It sort of reminds me of the rule that most couples need, which is, how much money can I spend without informing you or getting your blessing? I don't want you calling me to say, "Is it okay to stop and get a pack of gum on the way home?" Don't do that. Just go get the gum. But I also don't want you to bring home a 35-foot cabin cruiser without chatting with me first. So there's a line somewhere. And I think there needs to be a line somewhere for that particular rule, because a lot of things are only going to serve to create anxiety for you, the husband on the road, when I just as well could take care of it by myself. And when you get home, I can tell you about it in the past tense. Like, yeah, it was a little scary, but I took care of it and everything's fine, as opposed to calling you and burdening you as if you're not burdened enough, when I knew I could handle it and I knew there was nothing you could do about it anyway except worry.
And that's kind of what I do. You know, I guess after 25 years, I know what to call him about and what not to call him about. And I do tell him when things are wrong and that I handled it, or I'll call him and say, do you remember who we called last time when this needs done? I think one of the biggest fears of a trucker's wife is not knowing when their husband will be home. My husband was in a very bad accident 5 years ago, and we totaled our truck and trailer, and I had to get that phone call at 6 a.m. And I think that is the worst fear of a trucker's wife, is when that phone call is going to come.
Yeah, no doubt.
And it's something that you don't prepare for. It's something no trucker wife wants to go through. And when you get that phone call, it's almost like you're in disbelief because you don't want to believe that this happened, but it did. And now you have to circle the wagons and figure out what to do to handle everything at home, plus go be with them.
Mm-hmm. You know,
and see, I got a little teary there because that was probably the worst phone call I've ever gotten in my life. So,
and I'm happy that you're telling this in the past tense because I already know he recovered.
Yes. Yes, he walked away without a scratch. Someone was watching over him that day. Our truck and trailer, no, but he did walk away without a scratch. But I think just the awareness for what we go through and what our husbands go through on a daily basis, a lot of people don't realize the loneliness that they have in that truck, especially the drivers that don't have anybody to reach out to.
I think that's the very first thing the two of you are putting forth, is that it's never okay to say you have no one to reach out to, because no matter what, now you do. I think that's the very first thing that you're putting out there, is that you will always have a place to turn to, because it's not okay to take your life. It is okay, and it's better to talk to somebody about what's going on with you. And there's an amazing difference when someone listens and hears you. It instantaneously provides hope. Go ahead. You're going to say something.
I don't know if Candace remembers, but I remember an article I was reading, and I don't remember how long it was ago. And maybe Tom can look. He's good at fact checking. There was a man who was on a bridge and was going to jump off the bridge. And all the truck drivers lined their truck underneath this bridge to try and save this man who was going to jump off the bridge. And it's that unity that we want to bring back, to where the drivers there's so much hate in the world as it is, let alone drivers getting on. It's so easy to walk up to a driver and say, how was your day? But now with social media, instead of doing that, if a driver can't back into a slot, they're going to videotape it, and then they're going to post it all over social media. And that just might be the one thing that pushes that driver over the edge to do something that he wouldn't want it. You know, he wouldn't have originally done if you wouldn't have just blasted over to 2 million people that this driver doesn't know how to back in.
You know, what you just said is so fascinating to me, because it again demonstrates that deep reservoir of inadequacy. And now you demonstrated to the world that I'm inadequate, that I'm not good enough. And my feelings of shame run so deep that I might as well just destroy my life. There's no purpose in going on. And that's how teens react after they've been bullied lots of times. It's the same kind of thing. And you know what's worse than bullying is cyberbullying, because it's not you bullying me, it's you demonstrating how you're bullying me to the world. And now I feel incredibly inadequate and ashamed, and there's a self-loathing that comes, like I'm not worth anything. I should just destroy myself.
We call them radio Rambos. Because they talk big on the radio, or they talk big behind a phone screen, but they can't go up to anybody. And that's what's so sad, is how hard would it be to help a driver back into a spot that maybe is a blind spot? Or maybe this driver's having a really bad day and didn't have a shower that day, but you're going to post all over social media a picture of them and what they look like.
Yeah, and it's designed to be like, boy, I really nailed it. This is so funny. Everyone's going to give me likes, and really, they have no idea what you're doing to destroy a life, or potentially to. And most people wouldn't want to go that far, to get a few likes and a few Snickers on social media. They wouldn't want to destroy someone. That's not their purpose, but that ends up what's happening.
And we don't know what that driver has went through that day. Nobody has any clue. Maybe he just got a horrible phone call. Maybe he just got fired from his job. Maybe he hasn't eaten in 2 days, but they don't take the time to find out. They would rather just post something nasty on social media.
Mm-hmm.
I always say, and Lisa can tell you, I always say, you never know when someone's on the edge. Kindness is free. Be the voice that will pull them back versus the nastiness that could push them over.
And with that, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a minute. You're listening to TNCRadio.live.
Roadside safety tips for truck drivers. It's expected as a truck driver that you're going to have to pull your truck to the roadside at some point in your career. Tires blow out, accidents happen, and trucks break down. Here's some roadside safety tips for truck drivers to help you handle this situation. When you're on the side of the road, be sure to have safety equipment including flashers, cones, reflective triangles, and maybe even road flares to alert other drivers. Unless your truck is unsafe to be in, stay inside to avoid being out near the roadway. If you need to open your driver's side door, check before to make sure nothing is coming up the road. Do not roll your windows down if your truck is in idle. Fumes could come in through the open windows. Make sure to keep plenty of supplies in your truck in case you're stuck for a while. Check out our blog with items for emergency trucking safety equipment to have on hand.
You're listening to TNCRadio.live. Remember to tune into the Truckers Network Show with Shelley Johnson. Weekdays at 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern. And welcome back in TNCRadio.live. This is Building Strong Minds with Dr. Christopher Cortman. Before we wrap things up, we've got just a few minutes here. Let's start off with the ladies. Lisa or Candace, whoever wants to take this question, how can people find out more about your organization, what y'all are up to?
You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook under 32 Truckers a Day.
And where else will they be able to find you in the very near future?
On TNC Radio.
Oh, there you go. We're going to have a show going on. We're still working out exactly which show when and all that kind of stuff, but we're putting some stuff together to get some of their stuff, including some of the fun stuff like the trivia and that kind of stuff. I'm real anxious for that. So we're going to have some good stuff coming up in the coming days and weeks, and including a new show starting on Thursday that it hasn't been titled yet, but we'll get all that together here in the next day or so. And so we're excited about that one. And of course, you'll be able to hear them right here with Dr. Christopher Cortman for the next couple of weeks here on Mondays in May. Dr. Cortman, you have more than one book out there. Let's talk about your books. Let's start off with the book that the Social Black Belt is based on.
Yeah, that would be Your Mind, an Owner's Manual for a Better Life. And then I have a book called Take Control of Your Anxiety. And then the book is Keep Pain in the Past. And the last book is The Social Black Belt. And that is the same 10 truths as the first book, but it's written specifically for adolescents. And that's the place we're trying to get into in the schools, but that's another story. For now, I can be reached on srqshrink.com, and we were just talking to the ladies about being active on TikTok, and TikTok there, it's TikTok Shrink, and Dr. Christopher Cortman, you can find me there. And I am really delighted to meet these ladies, you ladies tonight, because there's so much that you guys have to share, and there's so much help because somebody decided somewhere 32 a day, that's too much, that's not acceptable, and we're on a mission, and our mission is to try and help as many truckers, and in parentheses human beings, as possible. And we're going after that. So, hats off to you ladies. And this has been as fun a radio show as I've ever been a part of. But I want to say, as long as, if you're invited back for the month of May, I'm really excited to have you on board. Just a great opportunity, and we'll do everything we can. I promised you the next video that I do will be about your 32 Truckers program, and I'm going to try and get that out there in that way and increase interest, because if we can do something to help these guys, these drivers who are always out there getting us our goods behind the scene, if we can help them in any way, why wouldn't we?
Absolutely. Let's see. Candace, we have just a moment left. Tell us something about what people could look for on TikTok that they might enjoy from 32 Truckers a Day.
So a fun activity that we do on TikTok is every Friday night, we do a trivia night. This past week, we did a trivia on old trucker movies. That was excellent. We really stumped the guys and the gals with some of the questions. This coming up Friday, we are going to do Name That Tune, but our tunes are going to be old trucking songs. So we will give out one line of that song, and then you have to name that tune.
That sounds like that would be a lot of fun. And when will that be on Friday?
That will be Friday at 8 Central.
8 Central, and you'll be able to listen to that here too on tncradio.live. We will simulcast that. Hopefully.
And we also we do a Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central, kind of like a what to do in the truck. We have, I think last week we did cooking in the truck. So some guys showed us how they made tacos in their truck, and we had some other things going on, storage in the truck. We started out with truckers' wives, but we just kind of went from there. So now it's just like the supplies you need in the truck. And then on Sundays at 2 p.m. Central, we get a little more serious and do a 32 Truckers a Day and talk about loneliness in the truck and how you cope with that and just kind of what people are going through on that day.
There you go. All right. So that's some great stuff. Really appreciate y'all being with us here on a Monday in May. You're listening to TNCRadio.live. Coming up next is Truckers Life Radio with Ron Fraser and the group from TFC Global. Stay right there.